good is what everyone else might have trained for, and you're starting. So if I was starting, I would want to be great.
And, the reality is now with our culture now, there's so many safety nets. Good's been replaced with good enough.
Right.
So if you can just be good at whatever and see, like, how advanced you can be, it's like someone that starts working out and they start seeing results and they're like, shit, I'm not even working out that hard. Or you imagine if I just watched a little bit what I eat, like I just put a little bit of extra effort in, but you get those early wins, those wins early on where it creates some believability. A goal should both, you're going the right direction when it scares the hell out of you and excites the hell out of you.
Right.
If it just scares the hell out of you, that's probably your gut telling you,
pull away.
You've underestimated something, or there's way too much risk to the reward. And if it just excites you, you're just probably being naive. You haven't counted the costs. And if there's that healthy balance, it's crazy, man. So, I mean, you are a testament to being willing to do whatever. Hey, it's the first one that called me back. And then when you get that opportunity, you seize it. But you also haven't, you're very self-aware, like, there's no surprise. Year one, we did over $1 million in sales, and I was trying, but a lot of stuff just happened to work out.
Right.
Recognizing that and then figuring out the class that you always got A's in without having to try, go become an expert in that because you already are good. Man, if you take that with work ethic, that's how you become Bezos. That's how you become these Steve Jobs or whatever. It's recognizing that.
Well, I had a conversation with my mom. She was talking about my nephew, and she was saying he's got straight A's, but he's got an 80 in, I think it was science. And she's like, if we could just concentrate on that science.
Because those straight A's are so important.
And I was like, Mom, really? If he's got an 80, who cares? Yeah. It's science. Is he going to be a scientist? She's like, well, I don't know. What's his best grade? She's like, math. I was like, okay, let him concentrate on math because guess what? You count money.
That's right. Yeah. Count it up. You got to be accurate with that cheese.
If you're good with that.
And if he's good at that now, it's not like 10 years from now he's not going to be good at that.
Right.
That's how
it's going to be, it builds on it. So
if you're talking to someone new, and we were just like a little condensing, and like I say, I think a lot of people are very fragile. New people in today's adversity is very fragile.
Not many people have heard no.
Yeah, right. And like literally they're on the verge of teetering to a long life of failure, poverty, depression.
It's weak fathers.
Or you could go the other way.
Masculine women. Weak fathers, masculine women. I hate to say it, but I see it all the time.
Yeah, or you could go the other way, prosperity, everything you want in life. So I think I think a lot of people are sitting right on the edge right now, and they could have been sitting on the edge for 20 years.
Oh yeah.
Stuck in that same rut job. They hate their life. They don't want to. They would, hopefully they don't admit it, but there's a lot of people that admit it. And if you've admitted it to yourself, I hate my job. I hate where this is. That should be your ultimate goal. Day one, let's start on that. So, and that's where I think a lot, like I said, people are caught in that complacency of where they're at now, and they're giving up. I mean, like I said, that would just destroy me right now. I mean, that's my biggest fear. If I had to think about it, it's not necessarily the monetary but imagine waking up and hating your life. Because I'm sure everyone's done that before. Somebody at your lowest point, if you had to take that 1 second or that 10 minutes or that little bit, and I hold on to that. I don't want to go back there. So that's what I think. And imagine you're just stuck in that moment. I feel bad for you, but you got to pull yourself up and figure a way to create some separation.
You can use that moment.
Yeah, create that separation from that. I mean, for me, it was my birthday, right? And I got a bag of grapes on my birthday. And I'm like, well, other kids are getting this stuff. But and I'm like sitting there thinking to myself, and at the time, it didn't register to me, that we were poor. But now looking back at it, I'm like, man, that ain't it. What does Biggie say? Birthdays used to be the worst days. Now we sip champagne when we're thirsty. That's what I'm saying. Like, people are stuck in that moment right now, and they haven't created no separation.
Or they think that's the way it is.
That's what I'm saying. Like, So
that's why you have generational
curses. Yeah, exactly.
Poverty. It's much easier.
Or alcoholism, anything.
It's much easier to pass poverty to the next generation than it is wealth. 95% plus of millionaires are first generation.
Right.
So that means 95% of millionaires, guys, had to look at their past and say, nah,
I need to separate.
It's going to progress.
Yeah. And
You
so
can't control where you came from, but
you can control the end. Winners create separation. And it's not me versus Billy. It's not me versus Matt. It's not me versus anybody at Parker Honda. It's me versus me.
Mm-hmm. It's the only thing you have control over.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I think that's, and they're sitting there stuck, barely making ends meet, got 3 kids, crying. I mean, I can just see it now. My biggest fear right there. I mean, gee, the kids. But you know what I'm saying as far as that.
Don't catch a KID. That's what I tell them.
But
someone had a kid at the gym this morning. I was like, get that thing away from me. It's contagious.
But I think that's a big thing too, is that a lot of people need to self-reflect, take a moment, see where you're at, and try to use that energy to go forward. Because you can't go back.
You're either getting better or you're getting worse. I remember Skip Holtz used to say that all the time.
It's a great day to get better.
There's no sitting still. If you make $50,000 a year every year, you might, I'm staying the same. No, there's inflation.
Yeah, you're going down.
You're losing your purchasing power.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but also I love that creating separation between where you were
your lowest moment.
Because if I'm comparing myself to Billy, maybe my potential is 100. If my potential is 100 times better than Billy, and I'm beating him just one time, hey, I won, I beat him. But it's Grant Cardone does talk about success being you have your potential and where you're at, and success is shrinking that gap.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Having a ton of potential, it can almost be like a gift,
curse.
A gift and a curse. You know, because there's always people, man, you can do whatever you want. It's like the opposite of those that say you'll never do anything, and you're sitting here like, well, shit, I've been told that my whole life. Like, when is that going to happen? When is that going to
Well, it happens when the other guys put in the work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When I was coaching basketball, we had one kid so much more athletic than everybody, a specimen.
You could get away with sloppy technique.
Right. And and he didn't realize why I was so hard on him. And I'm like, man, if you would do this stuff now, you're going to thank me later. He couldn't see it. Couldn't see it to this. And then actually I saw him at Sports Center and he thanked me for it. Almost someone's got to put you in your place early, and you got to be humble towards it a little bit. You got to realize you got to start early, or you got to start today.
You just got to start. Yeah.
You just got to start today. Mm-hmm. And so that was the thing. Once he started realizing, hey, I can blow everyone out now, but imagine if I would work on my left hand, or add a few more things, whatever it is, then you're next level instantly.
You were hard on him because you were comparing him against himself.
Right.
What his
and what
potential.
I had, the stuff I didn't have. And I'm saying almost a little jealousy, but I didn't, I was using that to push him up. And so that's why I'm saying fortunate for him, I was on his team. Versus someone else could have easily, primed him up, kept him, you don't got to practice, this and that stuff. And then imagine,
hey, baby, you didn't lift.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think that's the thing, too, is, and I didn't realize what I was doing then because, looking back at, 2020, I was pushing him to be better, in the big scheme of things, actually helpful for me, too.
Yeah.
Because then I'm looking at my shortcomings and what I did that got me to where I am.
Which that's what doing this podcast, man. You're planting your flag as like, hey, I'm a successful guy. Hey, I'm ambitious. And now people are going to hold you to that.
Right.
And you're going to hold yourself. John Maxwell said, we severely overestimate what we can accomplish in 5 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 5 days.
Right.
And you got to be both short and long-term thinking. But a lot of times we can be so long-term thinking, especially if we're comparing ourselves to somebody's after picture. They're on chapter 20 and we're on chapter 1. You almost got to shut everything out. I mean, I'm telling you, if people would just delete social media, stop listening to podcasts, it was like the shift that I made where I was like, man, I'm a crazy content consumer. I need to flip the switch to be a content producer.
Right.
With that being said, hit the subscribe button right now.
Cancel them all except this one.
Cancel all the podcasts.
We are smart.
Double down.
Follow us on Facebook. Magician in the Jock.
Well, so Magician in the Jock, we talked to before the show, magic trick.
Right, yeah.
So a lot of people who are unsuccessful look at successful people as if they're like wizards. There's something about Josh. Josh, of course he can do it. He's got some
Well, it's something
skills.
I don't have. It's something Matt don't have or Billy don't have. And then I look at Billy and I go, of course it's something Billy has that I don't have. And I think that's not the case. Sure, I found what you're good at, but everyone has something they're good at. There's not one person on this earth that doesn't have something they're good at.
I'm good at being bad at stuff.
Yeah, I can tell. That outfit. Oof.
Queer eye for a straight guy. we got three dudes with buttons
Like,
going
what?
right now.
How did this happen?
Be masculine. But, when I watch...
This is sponsored by Henley Tops.
That's right. Haynes.
Haynes.
His way. No, but when I see Billy do a magic trick, I mean, it's to this day, that little kid in me is like, man, that's amazing. I want to believe there's the magic. In the back of our heads, we know sleight of hand or, hey, he marked the card or something. There's a part of me that does not want to learn how the magic trick is done.
Right.
Because as soon as I learn it, it loses the magic trick and it shows, well, I've practiced a ton of times and I can pull that card out. It's not magic. And I think a lot of us look at success, it's magic.
Right.
And then when I go and ask Josh, man, how did you get to that? We want you to say it's magic.
Right.
We don't want you to say, well, I did this. I made these calls. I
sold
busted
these
my ass.
windows and I had to go sell
deleted
watermelons.
Deleted Facebook and I listened to this book and I read this stuff and I worked Saturdays. We don't want to hear that.
No. It loses its sex appeal.
Yeah, it's because now it's turning the mirror on me and
Right.
saying, if I want that, he just gave me the roadmap for it. I want to think it's magic, so I feel good about not achieving. Does that make sense?
No, it makes 100%. Because a lot of people don't want to know that I sat in front of a mirror for hours looking at my hands trying to get the right cuts and stuff. I mean, to learn the trick and do the trick, they just want to say, okay, well, my card just by holding the deck.
Yeah.
They don't want to know that all ties into that. Just
The behind
like
the
themselves.
scenes. Yeah, nobody wants to know behind the scenes.
Everybody wants the glory. Everybody wants the finish line trophy without actually going through the race.
Well, what Rogan say, nobody wants to learn to fight. They just want to whoop someone's ass.
Exactly.
That's right.
That's the reality. But
To be successful, you have to learn the trick.
yeah, and you have to learn.
You have to learn a trick.
It's a lot probably more simple, and it's probably dressed up a lot like hard work.
Right. Well, then, like I said, it's too, depending on who you surround yourself with. I think that's one thing I would work on. I'd work on myself, and then I'd work on who I'm surrounded by. Because obviously, we want Billy to be successful. We want Matt to be successful. I'm going to be successful. So I think that's the thing, too, is when good is not good enough and you're getting held accountable by your peers, I think that's when you start making a little stride. Like I said, I don't ever want Matt Dodge. I mean, it'd be a record year. Come at me and say, I'm proud of you. I'd probably show you I can't fight. But
You learn.
yeah, you're going to learn today.
But I don't think I've ever said that to you.
No.
Because I'm like, yeah, man.
There's no
it makes
magic,
sense.
and that's what I was getting back to with this magic thing. People would say, "Josh, I'm proud of you," and that's because earlier in my life I like to have fun and do some other things and stuff. But there is no. I'm like, what are you proud of? I just did the exact basics
Of what you're supposed to do.
I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. So that's what I'm saying. The bar in the last, I would say, 20 years has gone down. Mm-hmm. There's people that would work, bell to bell, railroad, whatever, and then create their own business and create their own success. Now we got people just can't barely get them to go do anything. You're listening to them because that's all you know and that's who you're surrounded by. You got to protect yourself and then work on getting some people on your team and A, helping them, and B, they're going to be there to help you too. Fortunate that my friend group is part of my support system, I would say.
Well, it's intentional. It's intentional.
Right.
Yeah.
It's intentional too, man. If you're around high achievers, the only way you can be in that group, because they're not going to hang around with you if you're a loser.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't see eagles flying with buzzards. You just don't see it. And guys, read. I just reread Think and Grow Rich like the 50th time, and then there Napoleon Hill was talking about, he talks about the mastermind concept. Mm-hmm. And there was a time where he had a mastermind with some of the Henry Ford, Alexander the Great, and it was all mental. He would actually visualize sitting around a table with them. He said his mastermind grew to about 82 people. All imagined. So sometimes the guy with the Holocaust who said that, man, they can take away everything, they can't take away my mind.
Right.
And between the ears, it's the most important. If that stuff, because you can have external success, but if you still have a poverty mindset up here, you're always going to revert back to where that mindset is.
Right.
Always. And if you have, that's why you take all the money from the rich, give it to the poor.
It'll make its way
gonna
back.
wind
It'll make its way back to its rightful owners.
If you had to sum up, someone's watching right now, like the kid that you were coaching or whatever, how would you, hey, Josh, I'm an aspiring entrepreneur or business person or something, I want to be like you. What would the first thing you do with them?
I mean, if I was to put them under my wing, it'd be a fucking boot camp. Excuse my language. First, I would hit them with a bunch of questions. see how they respond. I would guide them on, depending on their answers to, what do you think about yourself? I would just spitball a bunch of stuff and see their ideas on it. But I mean, really, to me, you can't put a dollar amount on just getting up and getting in gear. I mean, I don't care where it's at. I mean,
that's what they did with you. Get in the truck. We're going to go knock on doors.
Yes.
He didn't sit around and say, do you like yourself?
Just let's
see if you got it.
Yeah. So, and same thing with selling cars. I told them that I could sell all these cars and all that. The next thing I'm hired, I'm going, oh shit. Like now I got to do it.
Oh man.
Yeah, and it's dead of wintertime. It doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing. Start right now. Start absolutely this second. Start working on yourself, and I would start on any career, wherever you're at. I don't care if you're at Lowe's Hardware. I mean, or whatever.
Just start taking pride in what you do.
Right, and I think that's a big thing too. Like, even if you work at the grocery store, and I worked in the produce, all my produce would be so good that it would be noticeable.
Well, that's what I was talking about, the garbage man. I tell my kids, and you can ask them, each one of them, I said, I don't give a shit what you do. If you're the garbage man, be the best damn garbage man on the truck.
Right.
Because you don't know who's watching.
Right.
You don't know who's paying attention to you or what you're doing. And the opportunities could be there. And I heard another thing this week that why a lion is the way he is, and he's the king of the jungle, is because he's not as big as the elephant, he's not as fast as the cheetah, but he conquers his territory.
Right.
Know your territory. I think you need to know what you're great at.
Right.
Find that and then double down, triple down, 10X it, whatever the hell you got to do, whatever the cool slogan is for the day. Do that shit to the best of your abilities.
Right.
And that's why I love the idea of 10Xing, because 2Xing doesn't really get you that excited. Like,
right.
I could probably put in a little bit more time this year. 2X, that seems really reasonable. It doesn't really excite. Now, 10X, now you got to start being creative.
Right.
Like, I made $100,000. I want to make $1 million next year.
Yeah.
Well, I can't just put 10 times as much effort, time in. Like, you got to. My dad always said, dude, it pays to think, not to stink. And especially now.
It pays. Say that again.
Pays to think, not to stink. I remember Diesel told me that. And I was
not to stink.
Yeah. So in other words, use your mind instead of just working really, really hard. What was it on Christmas vacation?
You worked really hard, Grandma.
So do washing machines.
Or something.
Yeah.
You want to be able to work hard, but work smart too.
Right. Which comes first?
Smart to me.
I don't know. Bill Gates talks about that. He'd rather hire someone that's intelligent and lazy because he's going to think of more efficient ways to do it. There are people that bust their ass, and that's all they know. That's their answer for everything. They're the ones still with the typewriter. Like, I know it's harder, but I'm going to work really, really hard, and then somebody comes in. So, I mean, I think it's really marrying hard work with what you're naturally gifted at. No one taught Shaq to be 7 foot. What he did learn was a work ethic, but it's finding where you're 7 foot. What is your superpower?
Find your 7 foot.
Find whatever that is, and then attack that, because if you're trying to 10X, you're not going to 10X by going from bad to not as bad.
No. I think the big thing though now is people don't know what they're good at, or they don't.
Right.
So they're wandering.
What is your superpower? Yeah.
Right. So to me, you have to hit those failures. I mean, in reality, I got fired my first day in the car business. There's been some failures in my life, but looking back at it, I'm sitting today like, oh man, that ain't nothing. Laugh at them. I ought to call that guy up and send him my resume today.
What did you say? Hire me now or hear about me later?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think.
So you asked the question: how do you figure out what that is?
I think you have to attack it. I would take whatever I could get first.
Yes.
And then, okay, this ain't it, or I'm gonna keep this until I find this. I'm gonna keep this until I can find that.
You have to have a big enough sample size to figure it out. But also, guys, people tell you. I mean, you're at the end of the day, if you want to make $1 billion, serve 1 billion people, right?
Right.
So if everyone is coming up to Billy and saying, "Man, you are really good at editing or lighting or whatever," they're all telling you that. I was reading about someone who says there are people that naturally come up to you, right? That you attract in your life. The problem is most of us don't have something to then sell them. Right. Your life would become effortless if you could tie whatever your business is to who you're naturally attracting.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a big thing, and that's true in everyone's life. Like, people come up to me all the time and ask me to do some kind of design stuff with them, or like, hey, can you do something with this picture? Or can you write something about this? At some point, I need to flip the switch and say, man, that's a business.
Yeah, I got to charge.
So you have to be both internal but also listen. We've all seen the people with crazy passion on American Idol, the first episode, who I've been doing it for 30 years.
She bang.
Yeah. And then they get up there and you're just like,
Simon Cowell.
Like,
he's doing them a favor. He's doing them a favor.
They're not self-aware, and nobody has sat them down and said, like, dude,
this ain't you.
And they'll hear like, oh, that's my motivation because I saw someone else. The guy's 8th grade teacher said he'll never amount to shit, and now look at him. So everyone's told me I'll never amount to shit as a singer. I'm gonna double down, and it's like,
dude,
yeah,
like holy hell. I mean, Tiger Woods is the best golfer. He's not a starting center in the NBA.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care how much he loves the NBA. So, to thine own self be true. Search out what your superpower is. That's why I love thinking in 10x, because you can't just put in a little more effort to 10x unless you're doing nothing.
Right.
And once you find that, whatever that class you got an A in without trying, that's where you're going to advance. Why be average when the marketplace only rewards excellence?
Which I think we're starting to find ours by just the feedback from people giving, oh man, like we talked about.
Right.
I want my own podcast. I want to be on your show, or I want my own show and stuff. And we're starting like, okay.
You got to get out there and do it, and then also pay attention.
Mm-hmm. Right. Check your market share.
Yeah, man. I mean, you are naturally attracting people in your life. You are a networker. It only makes sense that you're successful selling cars, a volume business.
Right.
If you're an introvert, have no friends, and are terrible at making friends, why do you think you're going to show up and work as a car salesman and be good at it?
Right. Not going to work.
It's not going to suddenly change.
Right.
You married what you were, even though you worked really, really hard, you married hard work with your superpower, and you're seeing 42 fucking months in a row.
Right.
That doesn't happen on accident.
No. Even me thinking to myself, 42 months in a row. That's crazy. 3.5 years undefeated.
Undefeated.
Undefeated, baby.
Somebody's got to be number one.
Somebody.
You said earlier, buying a hat. If I want this hat, you can get this hat right here.
Right.
$35.
$35 with shipping and handling.
Free delivery in Moorhead.
Boys, this has been pretty fun.
Yeah, man.
I've enjoyed it.
It's been good. I hope you guys got some good information out of this, because if you want to succeed and be the best that you can be great at what you're good at, this is the episode to watch.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And first, decide to be the best.
Decide, yes.
I think that's a big thing. Go ahead and put it in your mind. I'm going to be the best, and then and if you need some help, message us, and we'll reach out and see if we can help you.
Burn the boats, baby.
Burn the boats. Josh, thanks for coming in.
Thank you,
Always
sir.
enjoyed
Hey, buddy,
it.
I'm proud of you.
What a stab.
To say I'm surprised at your success is the biggest understatement of the year.
Could have never dreamed.
I'm proud of you. Jesus.
All right, guys. Well, do us a big favor. Hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and hit the notification bell.
Smash that like button.
And we will see you on the next episode.
Peace.